I remember early on in this company, I heard one of our leaders say this: you better have a greater motivation to be in this business than just making money. Because one day you'll be making enough money to do anything you want to do, and then what's going to motivate you to be in the business? The ironic thing is, he left the company. He was making all the money he ever wanted to make. He was totally financially independent. He left because he couldn't answer his own question. I thought that was totally ironic. I'm not going to tell you who it is. Some of you old-timers may have even remembered him. But that really stuck with me because you're doing this the right way. The money is the result of what you do. You're changing lives. You're impacting the world. You're making a difference. You're building a movement inside a company that will pay you for doing it. Let's look at things on terminal thinking. In Robert Colvin's book, his book had a major impact on my life early on. It's called The Master Plan of Evangelism. It studied the principles of Jesus' ministry. He said his life was ordered by his objective. Everything he did and said was a part of the whole pattern. I don't just say good morning. That's part of my introduction to you so I can tell you about the business. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm using you. It just means I understand what I'm about and what I'm doing. Let's look at terminal thinking. They're usually short range. Why do I go to PFSU class? Because I got to pass the test. I go to PFSU class because if I pass the test, I can get a license, I can build a movement. It puts a whole different perspective on it. Why do I come to, short range? They're not creative. Just tell me what to do, I'll do it. Man pleaser. Other people pleaser. They're more concerned about what other people think than that. If you truly know where you're at and what you're doing. I use an illustration sometimes. I said, okay, you're afraid to talk to this person because you're afraid of what they'll think. Deep down inside, that's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of what they'll think. I said, imagine this. You're driving home from work one night. You go by the neighbor's house about 1 o'clock in the morning. You're late getting home, and you see some little flames flickering from the top of their roof. And you think, oh my God, their house is on fire. I need to go warn them. But then you think, man, ringing somebody's doorbell at 1 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be pretty pissed by the time they get downstairs to the door. Who's ringing my doorbell at 1 o'clock in the morning? They're really not going to be happy when they open that door and see me. So you just go on to your bed? No, their house is on fire. You're more concerned about doing what's right for them than what they think about you, right? Right. Well, people's financial houses are on fire. Right. The flames are flickering. Sometimes people won't talk to somebody because they're more concerned about what the person's going to think about them. Forget you. Their house is on fire. They're going to really be glad. They say, what are you doing? It's 1:30 in the morning, Bill. Hey, John, come here. Your house is on fire. Oh my God, thank you. I can't believe you stopped and told me. You're a wonderful person. Okay? Now if they say, well, I don't care what you say. I don't think my house is on fire. Go home. I told you. Controlled by circumstances. Controlled by circumstances. Things happen beyond our control. I posted on my Facebook this morning because every time I'm in the airport, I see a little shop that says, life is good. With all little t-shirts. I just want to go stand in the door of the shop and say, no! Life is short and full of trouble. God is good. I have this urge. I did go in one time to a lady that was working there and I said, hey, I just want y'all to know I'm starting a new franchise. I got these t-shirts that says, life is short and full of trouble. She kind of looked at me. I said, God is good. She thought of me and she said, you're right. But you can't be controlled by circumstances. It doesn't relate activities. Okay? I'm never wasting time. I'm never wasting time. I'm never on vacation. I'm on vacation, but I'm on flying out here. I had 3 or 4 good conversations. I met a lady in the airport, and it turned out her daughter worked with Primerica when she got out of college out in Virginia. And she's with Edward D. Jones. I gave her my car. I said, tell your daughter it's time to come home to Primerica. Here's my car. I said, we're doing everything she can do there and a whole lot more, and she can build a great... I said, send her this card and tell her it's time to come home. Okay, doesn't really fluctuating self-image. Oh, I got the appointment. I'm good. They stood me up. I got the clothes. Man, I'm good. They didn't buy. Fluctuating. Hey, you're good because you're good. You're smart because you're smart. You're effective. It doesn't make any difference what people decide to do or not do with it. It doesn't change who you are. But a terminal thinker thinks that way. Controlled by the program. You see this a lot in churches. Churches have programs and they just want you to plug in. The programs are here to serve us. We're not here to serve programs. Same thing in this business. That's why when you read this book over the years, one thing I always did, why am I doing this program? Why am I doing this strategy? Is it just because I'm used to doing it? Or is it still helping me accomplish my objective? Does that make sense? Okay, now, a relational thinker. A relational thinker. Our business helps people. Well, let me just find this. Relational thinking, the process of relating activities and knowledge to an objective, ultimate objective or purpose. Our business helps people move towards relational thinking. First of all, a relational thinker is always thinking long range. Okay? I'm going to sit down here a minute. I hope you can still catch me okay. They think long range. Hey, what I'm doing today is part of a long range event. It's part of a long range movement. It's important. It may not seem important now, but it is important that I talk to that person. Even if they tell me no, that's part of the process. Part of this, and they're creative. Always looking for creative ways to do things. Creative ways to engage people. I do this all the time when I'm out and about. I call it my oh really. My oh really question. Everybody can answer this question. I mean, if I'm in a shop, if I'm in a store, no matter where I'm at, everybody can answer this question. If I'm in the store, I ask them, how long have you been working here? They've got an answer. 1 day, 1 year, 6 months, 2, whatever they say. I say, oh, really? Well, the reason I ask, I say, oh, really? Well, let me ask you this. If it's up to you, do you see yourself doing this the rest of your life? The universal answer is usually, that's pretty much the universal answer. To which I say, well, the reason I ask is I'm with a company that's on a major expansion. I've watched you here today. You have some good people skills. I think you'd be a good fit. Give me a number when I can reach you when you're not at work, and I'll set up an interview. You know what they do? They grab a sheet of paper, and they'll write down their phone number. Sometimes they'll say, well, what is it? And I say, well, we help families solve their financial problems. That's about all I say. If they say, how do you do that? I say, look, ethically, it wouldn't be right for me just to go into detail with you because you're being paid by somebody else to do a job. You can understand. I've never had anybody say, come on, be unethical. I do know this. If you won't give people information, their little mind says, what was he afraid of? Why was he afraid to tell me? Must be something to it. Right. But when I say, well, ethically, it wouldn't be right for me to go into detail with you here because you're working for somebody else. But give me that number where I can reach you when you're not at work, and we'll sit down and I'll go over the whole deal with you. I pick up numbers all the time like that. My weakness right now is I don't follow up with them as good as I should. And that's because I'm not hungry enough. In my earlier days, man, I was getting back to those people just like that. So what I'm trying to do now is I got a team of guys and I'll text, like I'll text Jerome. I'll say, I just talked to the guy at Walgreens, and he's been working here 3 months. Here's his name and number. I told him you'd be calling him. I say, well, look, I'm leaving town, but Jerome will call you. So that I'm kind of doing it that way, all right? A God pleaser, okay? Again, if you're not into God, it's your... I mean, well, you either believe in God or you're your own God. I mean, somebody's in control, okay? Just before that, somebody's in control. And so, in fact, there's a book written that called the God Pleaser. But, I mean, please yourself. You know, you don't worry about pleasing other people. I know what I believe. I know it's right. I treat people with respect. I treat them with love. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care. If you don't like me, that's your problem. I'm a likable person. And I treated you with respect. You don't not like me because I treated you bad, because I didn't treat you bad. I just don't let that bother me. Not controlled by circumstances. Do I have circumstances happen? Yes. People talk about happy. There's a problem with happy. I don't look for happy. Happy, you're happy. If your happenings happen to be happening the way you want your happenings to happen, you're happy and you're happy. If your happenings happen not to be happening the way you want your happenings to happen, you're not happy. Happiness generally it has to do with circumstances. I look for joy. It goes beyond circumstances. It's that inner peace and fulfillment and realization that I'm okay even in the midst of bad circumstances. So I'm more concerned about that my life be filled with joy than that I'm happy. Not that I don't like happy. It just ain't always going to be there. My circumstances happenings aren't always going to be happening the way I want my happenings to happen. Okay, like yesterday, I flew to Las Vegas. I'm only a 39-minute flight from here, and I have a 2.5-hour layover. That is really frustrating to me. 39 more minutes of flying to get to Ontario, but I have to change planes in Las Vegas, and it's a 2.5-hour layover. So first I started being a little frustrated. I said, wait a minute, Bill, this place is full of people. So I just started talking to people. I talked to one lady, started sharing my story, my testimony. She grew up in a violent alcoholic family and had so much to minister to her about there. talking to the other lady, and she said, Primerica, yeah, she's the one that said, yeah, my daughter worked for Primerica right out of college. So, you start talking to people, because we're in the people business, right?
Right.
So as long as you got people around you, you can be working and ministering to people, especially with Primerica offices all over the place. You can always give their name to somebody. Relates activities to a purpose, okay? The activity of being in an airport 2.5 hours waiting for a 39-minute flight to Ontario. Related to a purpose. I'm here to touch lives. I can't touch lives, I'm not engaged with a life. So I start meeting people, I ask questions, where are you from, where are you headed? They always say where you're from, you just engage in conversation and you start asking questions that direct them somewhere where you can help them. Stronger self-image. Because your self-image isn't dependent upon your results, it's dependent upon who you are. On page, okay, I didn't add those there, okay. On page 34 in your book, just make a note, there's a little statement, a relational thinker can reach extremely high levels of commitment and accomplish tremendous feats of accomplishment. And there's another phrase in there, whatever captures a person's mind captures him and becomes their true objective. There's a danger in Primerica. We're moving away from, I called it bonus brain. Everything was done on a month-to-month basis just to get a bonus. Well, that's good if that's your objective, to get bonuses. But if you're building a movement, you make your decisions with a longer range view, and the bonuses will come. But I would rather make a decision with a 2 or 3 year impact effect than to not make that decision just to get a short range bonus. Now, the reality is if you're doing it right, you can have both, okay? But if it comes down to that. So, one of the pictures, one of my friends used to teach this in ministry. And I need to find that cartoon, so I loved it, because it says, whatever captures a person's mind captures them, becomes their true objective. There's a young man at the zoo. Got some popcorn at the zoo, and he's just fascinated with the giraffe. He's just looking at those giraffes. And so that's the first caption. The next caption is, he's looking at the giraffe, the guy's neck's getting longer. The guy's neck's getting longer. Captured him, became his true objective, okay? And that's what with us, though. If we're captured by building a movement, and we understand the principles, we understand the time frame, we become relational thinkers. I've already talked about recruiting just to build a business. You're in danger of burnout. The mind captured by products and sales. Now there are people in Primerica that are strong. I mean, I have some RVPs that make $100,000 a year and they don't recruit. They're strong in securities. Now, that's not what I would want to be doing. But hey, if they're living their life, they're doing what they want to do. They're coaching their kids' golf team. They're doing the things they want to do in life, and that's what they want to do. Great. They're positive. Hey, come to think of it, I wouldn't mind having 100 first-generation RVPs like that. Okay, just a little sitting on the side, producing, making $100,000 a year, generating that stuff. But I can't change them. I've tried to share the vision. That's what they want. When I saw the business, I wanted to be a Walmart. This guy saw the business. He wanted to just have a little mom and pop retail shop on the corner. Anything wrong with that? No, nothing wrong with that if that's what he wants. But I have to be careful. If you're not careful in this business, you can make a person like that feel like a dud. You can make them feel like a failure, No, you always present the potential, but hey, if you're where you are, because that's where you want to be, and you know what you're doing, and you're happy, great. Just like my little lady that's part-time for 25 years. Hey, she did what she wanted to do with her life. So wonderful. The mind captured by building a movement is a multiplying distribution system. Okay. Y'all wouldn't, I schedule these from like 9 to 1. I never know how long to go. I promise people they'll never go past 1. Sometimes they just go 3 hours. I said what I wanted to say. The ones that go 4 hours is when I don't remember I already said it, and then I say it again. Be glad you're first today. I'm doing this at Kurt Joyner's office tomorrow, and what will happen there is I'll think of something. I'll think, no, I just said that. No, I said that yesterday. Then I just say it now. All that's going. See, you see one thing, but I have my little brain. The first chapter of my book, I wrote a book called Random Notes from a Messy Desk and Creative Thoughts from a Cluttered Mind. The creative thoughts portion are songs and poems, but the first chapter in that book is not chapter 1. The first chapter is like chapter 8 or something like that. And the title of that chapter is They Didn't Have ADD When I Was a Kid. And then that kind of explains everything in the book. Okay. Okay, we're gonna take this one other session, then we're gonna take a short little stand-up break. Okay. Let's talk about purpose. Before a multiplying leader can relate things to his purpose, he must know what his purpose for life is. I've talked about that a little bit. For every activity, ask the question, how will this help me in the development of my multiplying leaders? See, that's what I ask in Primerica. Why am I doing this? Because leaders for me are not just first-generation leaders. Besides, I override everybody in the company, right? Because I'm stock. So my commitment this year was to go teach this seminar. I wanted to do that. I just thought, Bill, what can you, the company's been so good, what can you give back? The early part of the year, I contacted John. I said, John, I just want your opinion. I said, look, I got it narrowed down to two things I can focus on this year. I can get my boots back on the ground. I can get my base shop going and love it, get it really built up. Or I can go around and teach a seminar on principle building and movement. What do you think would have the greatest impact on the company? Well, it didn't take John. He said, Bill, I know you could build a big base shop. But if you built a huge base shop in Lubbock, Texas, it's not going to impact the company, particularly as a whole. But if you go teach this seminar, it could send ripples out all across the company and have a major impact on the company. And that's what I wanted him to say, and I was pretty sure he would say that because I know John. I have so much dadgum respect for that guy. And so that's what I started doing, and I don't advertise it. I just wait for people to hear about it. So I did my first one in Florida. I was going out to Florida to see a client that I found on Client Manager. You know that Client Manager deal? I was messing around with it one day, and I saw this little button that said ascending, descending. So I hit it, and it ranked them top to bottom. I had this client with nearly $800,000, and I don't even know that lady. Looked, her RVP's been out of the business about 4 years. Had a Lubbock address, and I thought, wait a minute, I got a lady in Lubbock, Texas, nearly $1 million, 800, $750, 800, and I don't even know who she is. So she didn't live there anymore. And that's the company address they had for her. And I'm like, what's going on? How do you find out? She had an unusual name, so I thought, well, I'll ask Mr. Google. He knows a lot. So I got nothing to lose, so I Googled her name because she had an unusual spelling and an unusual name. And she had worked at Texas Tech University, and I found her at the University in Florida. She was Dean of Students at the University in Florida. So I had to be the same one, so I called her up and I said, is this Melody? She said, this is Bill Stewart with Primerica. And she said, Primerica, this is wonderful. I haven't talked to anybody in Primerica in 10 years. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm thinking, how do we still have her as a client? I can't believe some investment person hadn't come along. Now, when's the last time you talked to your representative? 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I said, Melody, I'm coming to Florida. You're coming to Florida? I said, Melody, you've been a client with our company how long? You deserve a face-to-face. You deserve somebody sitting down with you face-to-face and going over everything with you. So I got a date from her, and I bought an airline ticket, and I flew to Florida to meet with her. Wow. And then I realized, hey, I'm going to Florida anyway, so I called up SVP Ed Ortiz, said, I'm going to be in Florida. Would you like me to do something for your team? So that was my first one I did this year. Then I did one in Texas, and I came out here in February, and I did one at Gary Cornegay's office. I had no idea these offices were so close together. Then one at Gary's office, and then I did one at Doug Hartman's office that afternoon, and then Danny said, I want you to come back here and do one. And so, like, this week I'm here, tomorrow I'm at Kirk Joiner's, next weekend I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. Never been to Omaha, there's not anybody on my team up there. And then the week after that, the week after that I have off, and then I'm going to Little Rock, Arkansas. And then the week after that I'm going to Denver, Colorado to do one for Mark Marchesani, or to Colorado Springs, and then to Denver to do one for SVP Kim Carver, or NSD Kim Carver. And then I'm not doing any more till after the convention. But I mean, it's happening all over. And so I'm honored to be here. I told somebody, I said, I can't believe I scheduled one of these and this many people come out to hear me. And they may never do it again after having put up with me. This was originally drawn to be a scale, like a scale. You balance your life. You ever heard about living a balanced life? Let me just put that to rest. No such thing as a balanced life. Okay. A pendulum on a clock, right? Keeps the clock moving. What happens when the pendulum is perfectly balanced in the middle? Clock stops, right? I love what my friend Kevin McCarthy says in his book about the on-purpose person and the on-purpose. I don't know if he said it in his book, but he did it in one of his little videos he sends out. He said the goal is not a balanced life, the goal is an integrated life. You integrate your purpose into every area of your life. Because how do you live a balance? I mean, you can't, when I first got started in the business, I was a hard worker. people, some of these evangelical Christians that want to play Holy Spirit in my life are really good at telling me how my life is. You know, you may have some friends like that. And they said, but we're just really concerned about you. You just don't seem to be balanced, living a balanced life. And here's my answer. I get out my pen and I say, I'm not living a balanced life. I like to do this. I say, when am I going to die? They go, what? I said, well, when am I going to die? I mean, if you know I'm not living a balanced life, you must know when I'm going to die, because you won't know whether I lived a balanced life till you get to the end of my life and you look at the whole life. Now, I may not live the balanced hour. I may not live the balanced day, but don't tell me I'm not living a balanced life. So you must know something I don't know. I'm going to die. And I also use that sometimes if somebody doesn't want life insurance. I say, well, just help me out here. I get at my calendar. So, well, just tell me when you're going to die, and I'll get out here and see you about 2 weeks before that. Oh, you don't know when you're going to die? Well, that's why you need insurance. If you knew when you're going to die, you can just wait for a couple of weeks before you die. But since you don't know, you probably need it before you die. You know, that just gets them thinking. It doesn't always make the same. I remember one night I was with a couple. I don't know. I mean, when you're working with a lot of Christian people, you know, when you're in retail and you're having somebody say, "I'm just looking." I'm just looking. And I used to have friends in retail. They called those people and say, well, have you seen our unadvertised specials? Well, of course, they couldn't say yes because they're unadvertised. They'd say no, so well, let me show you, you know. So when I used to be in the field, like people say, well, we want to pray about it. I say, great, I believe praying about your financial decisions is really important. I said, I believe in prayer. Would y'all like me to pray with you? And we just pray together about it. I said, first of all, it's really good to know what you're praying for. I said, do you want to pray to find out from God whether you're a better steward of His money to spend $100 a month on $50,000 worth of insurance, or $75 a month on $300,000? Is that the part you need to pray about? No. Well, John, do you need to pray about whether you'd be a better husband and father if you left your wife with $300,000? That's the part you need to pray about. Well, no. I said, well, okay. I'm not sure. Did y'all want to pray together, or did y'all want to go pray by yourself? And they just kind of. They actually got up and went to their bedroom. I don't think they prayed. I think they kind of sat there. I did not get the sale that night, but I had a blast. That's just something to think about, that's for sure. But the idea here is to integrate your purpose in your business and your family. If your purpose is to honor God, you know, by sharing truth, you're going to spend the time with your family. The idea is relationship with others, God, family, and friends, and your business. Those are the things you have to integrate. The goal is to be a person of integrity. The power is your inner motivation. Your method is total personal development. You need to develop spiritually, mentally, physically, and socially. You know? I mean, I know some people, boy, they've got this business down, but they don't even know how to say hello to somebody. They can't look you in the eyes when they talk to you. They need some social development. I mean, I remember Mark Younger. Y'all know Mark, he's pretty been successful in business. When he first got in, he's pretty shy. He kind of had a hard time looking you in the eye when he talked to you. But man, what a great leader he's become. Oh, yes. I love having his picture in my office. Every time a FedEx guy or a UPS guy comes in, I say, come here. How long have you been with FedEx? Plan on doing that for the rest of your life? Well, look at this guy. He was a delivery man in one of my offices in California. And see, this deal right says he makes $1.2 million a year. I said, that's a lie. He don't really make that. He makes over $2 million a year. That's an old picture. But because I want people to understand, people just like him. Develop spiritual, physical, social, mental. The goal is the world. Power is personal determination. And the method is multiplication. I say this, people, I want everybody that joins my team to leave. I just want them to leave. You ever feel like that one day? Hey, I just want the people that join my team to leave. I really do. Even to this day, I want people to join my team to leave. I want them to leave as an RVP, going out to build their own business. That's what I want. The reality is a lot of them are going to leave in other things. So while they're there, I want to impact their lives. To me, it's like an hourglass. You got all this sand up here, and it all passes through that little neck. And then it goes on and does other things. Some of those people are going to pass through the neck of my base shop, and they're going to go open their own base shops. Some are going to go do other things. But I want to know when they're passing through my base shop, their life is different because they were there. That's my purpose. So I know that even if they quit, my purpose was fulfilled because I got to touch their life. I got to inspire them. I got to minister to them. I got to give them hope. I got to help them see themselves to be a better person. That's why you don't burn out, and that's why the relationships are there. So you surround everything you're doing with purpose, and that allows you to organize your life around the purpose. Well, my family's important, so I make sure I spend time with my family. When the kids were growing up, we would do things. Let me tell you, I did learn this. I know there were times, and I made mistakes here, because I got up early, had breakfast appointments. I stayed up late at night. But sometimes I tell Sarah, okay, look, come noon on Friday, I'm yours. I'll be here with you, and then with the kids Friday night, I'm going to be there. And so she'd count on that. And then I'd call some dude, well, the only time I can meet you is like 3 o'clock Friday afternoon. Oh, man. Yeah, well, we need to do the business, so then I'll say I can't be there till 5. Let me tell you something what I found out. There ain't never only one time somebody can meet you. That just don't exist. So what I had to learn to do was say, well, I'm sorry, I'm booked. I'm meeting with some very important people that afternoon. That's right. But I can meet you Tuesday. Well, I'm just saying, when you tell your family something, when you make a commitment to your family to be there for them, okay? Mm-hmm. Adjust your things. Don't use the family as an excuse not to do the business, and don't use the business as an excuse not to be involved in your family. Mm-hmm. You've got to integrate that together, okay? Now, my kids understood I worked hard. I would explain to them, look, we're working to build a family business. We're going to work real hard. Daddy's going to be gone a lot. I'm going to be traveling a lot. But you know what? Come this day, we're going to Disney World. We're going to Disneyland. We're going to go celebrate. They knew there's a price to be paid, but there's a reward at the end, too. We did a lot of fun things together, and that's something they grew and they understand, but it helps me. Remember this, too. Every living organism. See, I believe a movement is a living organism. Every living organism, as you know, has an exhaust system. And it ain't the good stuff that comes out of the exhaust system. But you don't spend your life around the exhaust system. I mean, cars have an exhaust system, right? And they get you where you want to go. But if you just cranked up your car and lived at the exhaust system, it would kill you, right? People actually do that sometimes. Close up their garage, hook a hose onto their exhaust system, stick it in the window. The exhaust. In Primerica, you've got hey, be glad we do. Because if nobody ever left Primerica, we'd have been so full before you ever showed up, most of you could have never got in. All right, so it happens. That's natural, but don't spend your life there. Now, when I was a kid, I don't know if y'all know what a sweet tater is. Sweet tater? Yeah, okay. That's one of them orange things. Some people call them sweet potatoes, but they're sweet taters. And they're shaped. They kind of have an interesting shape on them. They're kind of, narrowed down at one end, and they'll go right up an exhaust pipe of a car. And you can stick one right up the exhaust pipe of a car like that and just plod it right up. Now, I never did that. We grew a lot of sweet taters. I'm sure as a kid I never got a sweet tater and stuck it up the exhaust pipe. But you try to crank that car, it won't crank. It won't crank. Because the exhaust system's messed up. So just accept the fact. Primerica has an exhaust system. But people are better for having come through it, and when they leave, just don't go live your life there, okay? It'll kill you, okay? Don't spend your life there. Okay, let me show you this, and then we're going to take a little short stand-up break right quick. And I apologize. I meant to put this in your notes. The next time I print notes, I'm going to do this. These are some of the books. I'll tell you what, I'll leave these up on the break. Here's what I want you to do. Right now, and I'm going to be moving to that next, there's more in. I want you to stand up for a minute. Everybody just stand up. We're going to do a little stretching exercise here. Okay, now listen closely. This is a programmed stretching exercise. I want you to put your hands over your head. Keep your feet on the floor. Just put your hands over your head there as high as you can get them. Okay. Okay, listen closely to what I said. I think you can put them a little higher. See, I said just stretch them up a little bit more. Okay, now you got them as high as you got them. I think you got a little bit more stretch. Oh, feet on the floor, feet on the floor.
Oh, no.
Not on the chair. Okay, now, one more stretch. One more. One more. Oh, not only does that feel good, there's a principle there, okay? I said stand up, put your hands as far over your head as you can. And then 5 more times with a little encouragement, you were able to go up. That tells us a lot about life. All right? there is more in you than you think. You know, if you can be made to see that, perhaps for the rest of your life, you'll be unwilling to settle for less. That's a quote from the founder of Outward Bound. Just take a little bit of a stretch right now. Rub somebody's shoulders if you need to. And then I'm going to drink a little water. And then I got a special come back to that. I'll come back to that. Okay, let's go. I think y'all would rather have a short break and get out early, wouldn't you?
Are you going to put those books
That
back
could be a possibility. We don't know. Okay, let me show y'all the little exercise that we did there about stretching. Is very powerful. Hello. Okay. The little exercise, it shows you that that's the important part of coaching. As a leader, that's our role. To get more out of people and they believe they have. Sarah and I took a cruise. Sarah and I took a cruise to the Mediterranean and Europe. And we went into Belgium and we were taking a walking tour and I saw this incredible thing built in there. And the French words on the bottom. So pardon my French. Flou et en vous. If you know French, I may have just butchered it. Because I don't know French. But lots of like flou et en vous. That came from Louis of Groothouse, 1456 AD. What it says, more is in you. More is in you. And the founder of Outward Bound during World War II, right there, he saw this on a picture or a poster somewhere, and that became his slogan for the Outward Bound year. But I took that picture, and this is what I want you to think about for the rest of the session. Because now we're going to shift into the how do you put all these principles to work? Where's the environment you put those in? There is more in you. You are not yet all you can be. You are not yet all you can be. There is more in you. There's more in us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives we'll be unwilling to settle for less. That's on my signature of all my emails. One of the greatest things about Primerica is that it truly offers us insights into ourselves. It allows us to see the more that is in all of us in training, on appointments, and the daily sacrifices we make. Primerica defines who we are. There's no business like Primerica. First, it's harder than anything you'll ever do. Second, it's the one business which you are totally alone in your personal quest, yet more connected to a team than ever. You're connected to a team, but the team doesn't do it for you. You've got to do it. Through Primerica, you've learned things about yourself that few people are ever privileged to discover because you've tested yourself over and over again. Every time you started your day, another test began. At that moment, you knew that the next 12 plus hours were all up to you, that they would require all of your focus, determination, and courage. Conquering your fears and doubts, harnessing the power of your will, and overcoming the desire to just stop and make it go away, you do what your peers dare not do. You challenge yourself to the very core of your being. That's right. On those occasions, whether you won or lost, whether you overcame your fears or gave in to them, whether you found the strength within you or succumbed to the doubts, you learned something about yourself. Over time, you will come to know that there is more in you than you thought. And always remember that and never settle for less. That's not original to me. I stole that. The above was adapted from a message to the Cherokee High School cross-country team, Marlton, New Jersey, from coaches Steve Shackley and Chris Callanan. I changed the words in italics. They were referring to the sport of cross country. The message is so applicable to Primerica. I wanted you to catch the impact. These two guys are obviously great leaders and coaches. The young people on their teams will never be the same as they face the challenges of life. Actually, I was researching that quote to find out where it came from, and I came across that, and I did this, and I wrote the guys a letter and thanked them for it. And I sent their names and some Primerica people up there. I don't know if anything happened, but that's what we are, okay? There's more in you than you think. There's more in you. You have not yet become all you can become. I'm getting down to where I can see this, okay? You've not yet become all you can become. You've not yet dreamed all you can dream. You've not yet grown all you can grow. You've not yet risen as high as you can rise. You have not yet given as much as you can give. There is more in you. This will be on my website, new website. Actually, it's on one I've got right now, I think. You've not yet fought as hard as you can fight. You've not yet believed all you can believe. You've not yet gone as far as you can go. You've not yet worked as hard as you can work. You've not yet achieved all that you can achieve. Here's a race. Here's a poem that I wrote. One of the two. You're in a race called life as you face your challenges and strife. Sometimes the path is smooth and clear. Other times it's filled with pain and fear. Others stride with ease, it seems, making headway towards their dreams. Sometimes for you it's not such fun. You want to quit before you're done. Your race is not won at the finish line, and it's not a loss when you're behind. The true race is one deep in your heart when you've refused to quit from the very start. Maybe you've fallen and taken a hit, and you're wondering if you should just quit. You may not beat others, yes, that's true, but you surely can beat the quitter in you. The decision is yours, just yours to make. Accept what life offers or get what you take. So sit there or run, it's all up to you. You'll be a winner or quitter, one of the two. There is more in you. I've already said that, okay? Wait, okay, that was the short version. I had some more. That was the short version. Okay. Let's go back to the other one. That's just a powerful concept, and it's greatly illustrated. By the way, that illustration is not copyrighted. You can do that with your team sometime. Not only does it stretch your muscles good, but it illustrates a good point. Okay, there are those books a little bit. Some of them, these websites, on-purpose.com, that's Kevin McCarthy, and he has a great little 1-minute deal he does every week about being on purpose. My website, sharetruth.com. Okay, here's one with a lot of Primerica stuff on it. pfsstewart.com. The username is pfsstewart. Now, it does not live up to the level of Danny Alonso's website. That's the most incredible building leader, the most incredible Primerica team website I've ever seen. And then the password is Crusader1. And coming soon, Create the Way. But you can get the information on those books. If you're really struggling with purpose, Kevin McCarthy has some great worksheets there to help you with that, okay? And I don't think, let's see, the book, The Path by Laurie Beth Jones. That book is what helped me write my first mission statement. It is a great little book. Don't pay retail for that book. It's all over Amazon at cheap rates because people don't realize how valuable it is. So just go on Amazon. You can get it for $3, $4, or $5. Great little book. Got some great worksheets in it to help you. Her goal is to help you get your mission statement down like mine. My mission, share truth, sets people free, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. That's like my compass. That's my compass. No matter what distracts me in the day. You know, if you're out hiking through the wilderness and you've got to go around a gorge or around a big boulder or around some trees, if you don't have a compass, you may not get back on track. You may think you're back on track, but you may have been wanting to go that way and now you're heading that way. But that compass allows you to stay on track. I was teaching this to a group of teachers in Texas one time on a teacher in service work day. I was sharing my story, and I go through, I named every teacher I had in school, and I named a specific way they impacted my life. Not very many people can do that, but teachers are one of the reasons I'm not in jail because they kept me in between. And fortunately back then they were able to use discipline. Some of them would be in jail for the things they did to me, but if they hadn't have done that, I'd have been in jail. And but that, you know, I wasn't given a drug for having ADD. I was given a paddling, and I learned you didn't act that way in class. You didn't do this. You learned to do what you needed to do. But I was sharing this mission, and I said, there's so many things that distract you. So many of you are asked to do. If you're a teacher, you can appreciate this. Asked to do things every day that have nothing to do with why you got into teaching. There's so many administrative things and it have nothing to do with why you got into teaching. So as I was leaving, they were introducing the next speaker, and he said, so-and-so will be speaking on dangerous chemicals in the classroom. And I asked the guy escorting me out of the school, I said, now, is that just for the chemistry teacher, or is that for everybody? He said, well, no, that's for everybody. I said, what do you mean? So suppose some kid brings a bottle of mercury to this class. I said, oh, yeah, I used to do that. I got a bottle of mercury in my chemistry set for Christmas when I was in the 4th grade from Sears and Roebuck. I take it out, I take it to school, I pour it in a little pencil tray on top, and I was bored in class, and I'd make those little balls of mercury roll down in my hands, and I'd put them back up there, and I'd play with them in class because I was bored. And he said, boy, if somebody does that today, one, they got to call the half-bat team, they got to isolate everybody, they got to shut down the whole school. I said, you're kidding. He said, mercury destroys your brain. I said, maybe that's what my problem is. I played with too much mercury when I was a kid, you know. And it was just a different world back then. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Did the teacher decide to teach 7th grade students so she can learn how to deal with dangerous chemicals in the classroom? No. So if they have that confidence, I was trying to teach them to get that mission statement then. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now, we're talking about creating an environment to build this movement. Environments are like greenhouses. We've all done this. I don't know if you can. Can y'all see that okay? Do we need to close those windows? Is it fading out somewhat? We've all seen it. Maybe our kids have done it. You get the little cup, you put some potting soil in it, you plant a little deal, put some saran wrap on the top, and you've created a little miniature greenhouse, right? And you control the environment and the thing grows. Or you can get bigger. These are not far from my house. These are big greenhouses with a lot of plants growing. Either way, it's an environment. See, you may be small, you may be bigger. The key thing is to have an environment conducive to growth. But be careful that you don't get focused on structure. That's just right down the street, half a mile from my house, or 2 miles from my house. That is a greenhouse, but it's the environment's totally destructive. The structure's there, but the environment's gone. Nothing in there but dead plants. Now that happened in a big hailstorm we had a year or so ago with baseball, softball-sized hail, destroyed that into the county. Did $250,000 worth of roof damage to our place. Every roof on our place was totally destroyed. My insurance company hates me now. They arbitrarily raised my deductible to $10,000. They just sent me a letter and said, your deductible is being raised to $10,000. And we're not going to cover certain stuff. I didn't know you could do that. But anyway, this thing you want to be careful of. That's a different story. This thing you want to be careful of, that you don't have a great structure but no environment. So the deal is that the environment, that's what we're going to talk about, creating an environment to develop leaders. I have here, I went by the store on the way to the deal, and I got these little reminders, the little garden seed packages. What does that say right there on the bottom? Clearly more seed. Clearly more seed. See, if you have an environment and you want more to grow, clearly all you need is more seed. Kind of like Primerica, right? And what are seed? The recruits. If you've got an environment that's conducive to growth, then the key to it is to get more seeds in there. I love these little seeds because they've got a package on them. Can you look at those seeds and tell me which ones have life in them? See, another thing about seeds. You can't tell which of these, every one of these seeds is not going to come up. Some of them have life and some of them don't. The only way I'm going to know is take that seed, plant it in my environment, and see if it sprouts, right? Some will, some won't. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with my environment, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me, it just means there wasn't life in the seed. But I've never seen one that said clearly more seed. I'm going to give these out to my team. Clearly more seed. What you need in your environment is clearly more seed. The other thing I like is, when I was growing up, we did a little garden. I always wanted to plant radishes because I'm a hurry-up kind of guy. Germination rate on a radish is 5 to 7 days. Maturity, 22 days. Here, germination rate is 7 to 10 days and maturity 65 days. I didn't want to wait no 65 days. I wanted to harvest something in 5 to 7. Okay? But every seed's different. That's another thing to remember. Every seed's different. Every seed grows at a different rate. It's your job to create the environment. As the greenhouse guy, It's my job to create the environment, control the moisture, control the temperature, control the nutrients, and then plant the seed. I'm not in charge of whether there's life in the seed. You know, the Bible says a seed must fall into the ground and die, and that means the outer shell in order for the life to come forth. I can't. Only God knows whether those seeds have life in them, and only God knows whether my recruits do. I'm the one supposed to be out there doing it. So let's talk about creating the environment. Creating the environment. This allows you to have a mental perception of creating an environment. And again, this allows you not to change what you're doing. One thing you should be careful of, and going to certain Primerica meetings, you'll hear some leader talk about what they're doing, and you'll think, I got to go back and change what I'm doing. Sometimes you're doing the right thing. Everybody has different techniques. You just need to readjust your environment. Now, yes, you pick up ideas, but the thing I love about Primerica, there's a lot of tools in the shed. Someone said one time, if the only tool you have is a hammer, pretty soon everything starts to look like a nail. You know? And in Primerica, we've got a lot of different tools. And your coaches help you figure out the ones that are best for you and your culture and where you're at. But in building this environment, let's kind of look at how this goes. Okay, in the environment, you've got the ocean of humanity. The ocean of humanity is everyone that's out there that has never heard or just wasn't interested in Primerica at the time. They're just out there, and the ocean of humanity. And that's what's out there all around us today. That's where we're going to draw our people from. And then the next step is the pool of humanity. Well, if I'm not a fisherman, because I was never a catcherman, and I got tired of being a fisherman and never being a catcherman, and I just gave the whole thing up. But I know people go fishing, and they'll be out on a huge lake, and they'll get in a little cove somewhere where it's a little bit more protected, and maybe the fish are there better. So here at the Ocean of Humanity, we expose people out there, and they come into the pool of humanity through family, friends, the old really scripts, warm introductions, referrals, product seminars, job fairs, opportunity meetings, business briefings. They've come out of that cold, hostile ocean of humanity into our pool of humanity, right? Okay, now, and some people will come up here and go back down here, and then they'll come back up here and they'll go back down there. Sometimes they'll stay down there. But we have that pool of humanity. And our job is to move people into it. And some of them then, we've always got an opportunity for them to go somewhere else. So from the pool of humanity, people that are interested, they move up, and that filters out some people. I don't like to call it filtering out, because we're not telling them they can't. It's leadership rising top, like the country. We used to milk cows, and we'd let the milk sit there, and the cream would rise to the top, and we'd skim that cream off and make butter and stuff with it. So now you've got other things. So some of the people come here, some of them show up at op meetings, they do an FNA, give you an appointment, they do an IPA, they go to PFSU, go to weekly training. So now you're going out of this whole pool of humanity, who am I seeing rise up? Okay? And as you keep raising the level of commitment, it's easier to get here, it's easier to stay here. A little bit more commitment to go here, a little bit more commitment to go here. And then they come here and they find out you got weekly training. They find out there's training on POL. They go to builder school. They go to success seminar. And now you're beginning to identify out of all the people in here who's rising up. Who's rising up and showing that they have that desire and that desire to build something. Those that don't can stay there. That's fine. There's a freedom. There's fluid motion in this environment. People are moving up and down at different rates of speed. Sometimes they'll move up and come back down, and then move up and come back down, and then move up again. Or sometimes they'll move up, go back down, and go back to the ocean of humanity. You don't control that. And then you've got your training multiplying leaders. You see people always being here. You just start challenging them to some advanced training. It takes more commitment to go to the convention than it does to come to Saturday morning training. It takes more convention to come to specialized training meetings. So you're getting the idea there. And part of the dynamic is to have it and to know that it's there. And your job is bring people in, love them and encourage them, and then observe and watch them. And you can kind of focus. It's what we call move with the movers. In building a movement, you move with the movers. You don't stay with the stragglers. Human logic sometimes says, wait a minute, that guy's moving. It's this guy that's not moving. He's moving. I got to stay here and get this guy moving. Okay, I planted the seeds. I got some tomato plants coming up that need tendering to and caring for. And I'm over here saying, I got to get this plant to come up. I got to get this plant to come. So I'm not watering those. I'm not pruning them. I'm not tending to them. You move with the movers. And it's the illustration I use. In Texas, we have a school down there that we make a lot of fun of called Texas Aggies. I hope nobody here is a Texas Aggie, but I'm not. I'm a Red Raider, so we always tell these Aggie jokes. And there's a story of the college student from Texas A&M got him a summer job. His job was to paint the stripes on the highway. So the first day on the job, man, he painted 5 miles of stripes. And his boss was totally impressed. Next day he painted 4 miles. Next day he painted 3 miles. Next day he painted 2 miles. Next day he painted 1 mile. And his boss called me and said, look, man, I thought you were a good stripe painter. You started off so good. He said, I don't understand this. You know, first day you paint 5 times, 4 days later you paint 1. He said, what's the problem? He said, boss, it's just so far back to that bucket of paint every time. Some of you will get that. Some of you Aggies will get that later on. He was never moving the bucket of paint, and every time he hit the back, he'd walk across and paint a stripe and walk back. So we've got to keep moving the bucket. Another way I illustrate that is my goal is to get people running a marathon. Primerica's a marathon. I'm going to recruit you. I'm going to talk to you about it, and I'm going to run the first 100 yards with you to get you started. And I run that, I'm going to show you where the environment, remember, the environment is for the purpose of selecting leaders. If you weren't going to select leaders, just have an op meeting and set up FNAs and do sales. Okay? The environment is for producing leaders. And the second is the environment is for developing the leaders. Because as you develop your small group, guess who's taking leadership in that environment? It's your leaders taking leadership in the environment, learning how to run the greenhouse, so when they go start their own greenhouse, they know how to do it, right? So you want a developing leader wants to be involved in every area of the business. Okay, the World Leadership Center. You've got in your outlines there, you've got, I had these reprinted. Do you have the full page? No, these outlines were shipped a little bit. Okay, you've got the movement matrix. Do you have one called a recruiting matrix? Okay. I want you to, in your outlines, you'll see one there called a recruiting matrix. They're full page. If you all got the same set of outlines, if you didn't, you're coming to it. There it is. And there's a recruiting matrix, and the next page, there's a movement matrix, and the next page is recruiting matrix. I want you to study those, just kind of open those where you can look at both of them and kind of see if you can see the subtle difference in those two diagrams. You see them? Okay. Don't strain too hard. There are no differences. The difference in those two diagrams is the way you perceive those diagrams. They both play a role. Okay. The recruiting matrix. Everybody needs a recruiting matrix. That's the matrix you're filling in. I'm going to recruit this person. I'm going to help them recruit their 3 people. Okay, those are the recruiting matrix. That's just get somebody who gets somebody who gets somebody. All you got to do to be on that matrix is be alive and fill out an IBA. The movement matrix is your leadership segment. Okay, okay. There's a recruiting matrix. You're here, you recruit them, you help them get through. These little circles are people that are in your influence, but you haven't recruited them yet. That's all those little circles are. Every recruit, every person with filling an IBA should have a recruiting matrix they're trying to fill out. Now, the movement matrix, this matrix builds a movement. This matrix puts people in your environment. If you don't have people in your environment, there's nobody to identify leadership from, right? This matrix feeds the environment. This matrix builds the movement. And here's the difference. You're right here. These are leaders. For a person, and you're challenging people to be part of your team of movement leaders. For a person to get here, they have to have made a commitment to be this person in their own movement matrix. Here, this person doesn't make any kind of commitment. They just have to fill out an IBA, and then you're going to try to go help them get 3 more people to fill out an IPA, right? There's no real commitment to that. Just get it done. Here, to get here, this is you. For a person to be right there, they have to have understood what we're talking about, and they made a commitment. They're building their own matrix. For them to be on your matrix. Now, I used to have a deal like this. When I went to Lubbock, Texas as a youth minister, they gave me a little office, had a nice little desk sitting there, a door over there, and had a nice little chair. People would come in, and there'd be me at my desk. Now, have any of you seen the picture and the cover of my book? Okay, you can see that on my website, sharetruth.com. I'm not trying to sell the book. It's the picture of my desk. First thing I did when I got there is I took that desk and I turned it around and shoved it against the wall. So when people came into my office, they saw my back. Now, at first they think, well, that's no way. People come into your office and they look at your back. I mean, they did that because then when I wanted to talk to them, I turned around and my desk was behind me and I could talk to them. Because even right now, in my office, I have my desk and I have a little conference table. If you come to my desk, I'm a loving, kind, sweet guy. If you come to my desk and start talking to me, I may just right in the middle of that conversation pick up something on my desk and start working on it. Not because I don't like you, it's just my brain function. My brain totally diagnosed as one of those ADD brains. I went through the whole diagnosis and everything. They even gave me medicine. They said this would help. And you know what? My life was different, but it wasn't me. In fact, I read a little book one time, and it's out there. It's called A Little Craziness and a Lot of Success in American Business. And this guy took the standard diagnosis of ADD and applied it to most of America's top business leaders. Showed they had learned to challenge all that stuff. But I knew, I don't want to treat people that way. So I learned if I turn my desk around, I don't do that. So that's why I did that. But the other thing was, I had a chart like this on the wall. As a youth minister, it had my name here and it had my key people, my students that I was developing. So when someone would call me and ask me to do something, I would say, how will that help me do this? Okay, you got one of these on your wall in your notebook. Somebody wants you to come do an appointment, or you're talking to a client for your own personal appointment. It's not just an appointment. It's not just about making a sale. You have to ask yourself, how will this do an appointment help me do this? Well, it won't if you go by yourself. So call up somebody and take them with you, even though it's not their appointment. You spend the time with them. They see what you're doing. So I remember one time getting a phone call, and they wanted me to come to their church and do a weekend retreat. Well, when you're a youth minister, that's fun. One, you make some extra money. Two, you get to go with some kids that aren't your jerk kids you have to work with all week. They're always wearing you out, and you're kind of treated like a hero, you know. So you go, and so they called me, and all that stuff. But then I look at that chart, and I have to ask, how can I use that retreat to help me do this? So I said, hey, could I bring 2 or 3 of my own students and help teach some of the material at the retreat? And there was just silence on the other end of the phone. And the guy said, you have students who can teach? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, okay, yeah, bring them. So see, now, I use that retreat to help me build leaders. Okay? So you keep this handy. There's nothing magic about it, but it helps you stay focused on a concept that's not real easy to conceptualize. So there's your concept, building a movement matrix. How's what you're doing helping you build leaders? The other one is your recruiting. Don't confuse the two. These are your leaders. And you never know. Have you ever seen the movie Dolphin Tale? Got the little dolphin? Okay, pretty good movie, right? I took my grandkids to it. I loved it. I got this Facebook message a few months ago, and it said, have you seen my movie, The Dolphin Tale? I answered it back, and I said, well, I saw The Dolphin Tale, took my grandkids to it. What do you mean, your movie? I've known this kid since he was 16, 15, 14 years old. I said, what do you mean, your movie? He said, well, I'm the guy that Harry Connick Jr. played in the movie. I'm the guy that runs the aquarium. I'm the guy that got the dolphin. I'm the guy. I said, what? And so there's a kid that's been in my youth group, and he's a guy that gets Winter the Dolphin, runs the aquarium, does the whole shebang, helped produce the movie. And I said, well, I'm coming to see a lady in Florida, and his place is just 3 miles from this lady I was going to see. So I'm going to come see you. I said, I'm scared. He said, well, I'm not going to be there that week because I have a mission, and I go to countries where Christians are severely persecuted, like North Vietnam and Pakistan. And I go in and help, because there, if you're openly a Christian, you can't even get a job. So I go in and help set up little cottage industries and produce things, and we sell them here in America. And he said, I'm going to be gone that week. I'm like, wow, here's a kid from my youth group not only producing movies, and that movie has impacted and encouraged a lot of people with handicaps and things, okay? But he's doing mission work all around the world. He was on my chart. He was on my chart when he was 15, 16 years old. You never know a life that you're going to touch where they're going to wind up. So, you know what I said? I said, well, I'm going to change my appointment for it. I'm going to call the lady and say I can't come that week. I would come a week earlier or a week later. So I went out there, and I got to pet Winter. They took me down there and got on a little platform, and Winter comes up. So there's all these thousands of people up there looking around. They're probably wondering, who's that guy? Now, why does he get to go? I said, well, because he was on my circle. He was on my chart, you know. But I mean, that's pretty fulfilling. Somebody whose life you touched, you poured your life into them for 2 or 3 or 4 years, and now they've gone on and done something significant with their lives, not just in the movie deal and the dolphin, but taking the money he's made there and going and doing things in third world countries and things like that. That's very fulfilling. And I've got people that are in missionary work today because when they came in from America, their desire was to be a missionary, but they were stuck in a job, and we just became a bridge. Sometimes we're a bridge to get people from where they are to where they want to be. It's not a lifetime road for them. But they would have never gotten to that point without our bridge. So I'm excited that that person's serving the Lord in that country and that they're not in Primerica. But without Primerica, they wouldn't have been there. Without Primerica, I've got a lady, I was hearing her sing in church, and her music just really said a lot of the same things I say in my teaching, which are a little unusual to some people. And so when she sang one Sunday as we walked out, I tapped her on the shoulder and I said, Cindy, would you do a CD if somebody paid for it and produced it? And her husband just about passed out. I found out later that she started singing when she lost a little baby, 3 months old. And that's when she began to sing. And her husband said, you're so good, you should do a CD. And she had literally said, the singing is between me and God. And she literally said, if God ever wants me to do a CD, somebody will have to tap me on the shoulder and say, they'll pay for it. He literally said that. And and then she went on, she got a lot of national awards from inspirational country music and different things. Her music is just really incredible. And I know just not too long ago, she said, Bill, my life would not be what it is today. Now she's working with a deal full-time called Working on a Building. And she goes around and does concerts, and all the money that she raises goes to build churches. She's already built her first church in a third world country now. And she said, that would have never happened without you. I said, no, Cindy, God wasn't going to leave your talent on the shelf if I'd have been disobedient, because He put it in my heart that Sunday morning and tap her on the shoulder and say that. I said, if I hadn't have done that, God wasn't going to leave your life on the shelf. I just wouldn't have got to have been a part of it. It would have been somebody else that got the blessing of being that part of it. So I'm just saying, when you touch a life, you never know. And there's your building and movement matrix. Everybody that are have one of those. And then right now, if you're serious, you ought to have you right there. You may not have anybody yet to go in there, but you've got that, and you're looking. You're watching. And the things you look at for challenges. Who's building relationships? Who's got commitment? Who knows their objectives? You begin to challenge them. Or for them to accept that challenge, they've got to agree to go there, and then pretty soon you begin to develop. You got to multiply and lead. The matrix is not the objective. That represents the objective. It's not a little magic matrix. It represents the objective of building a movement. Place it where you see it every day. Put it in a notebook, put it up on your mirror, put it on your desk somewhere where you see it every day. How's what I'm doing today helping me do this? How's what I'm doing today helping me develop leaders? How's what I'm doing today helping me build a movement? Results, personal vision. The other thing is relational thinking. That's hard to do, but now you're saying, how will this help me do that? And you're beginning the beginning steps of building a movement. Okay. So you got, and when you're meeting with this group of leaders, remember it's a separate little group. You build it in a group. You may have a team meeting, but at some point you've got your leadership. Early on, it may just be you and 2 or 3 people. But you're sharing that vision. You're talking. You're helping them understand structured and unstructured situations, relationship, motivation, atmosphere, encouragement, guiding. All of this is going on in that leadership group. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars getting counseling, going to seminars to learn how to have better relationships. I'm going to solve that problem. Okay? How to have a good relationship. Be real and have fun together. Now, being real isn't always easy. Having fun together a lot of times is easier than being real. But if you're having fun together and you're not being real, you're still not going to develop a relationship. Be real. Be the real you. Let them be the real them, and y'all have fun together. It works in a marriage. It works with kids. It works in a business. It's not complicated. The complicated part is being real. But if you know who you are, why you're here, where you're going, that has a lot to do with you being able to be real. And just having fun together. Develop it with multiplying leads. I know Art used to always say this, recruiting is the lifeblood of the movement. Relationships are the backbone.